Capricorn, take a breath with me for a moment. What you're about to hear isn't random. And it didn't show up late by accident. For a long time, it felt like nothing would move. Almost resolved, then paused again. Almost finished, then delayed again. But here's the truth. You weren't being denied. You were being prepared for a clean, final win. Something is unlocking now. A chapter is closing completely. And what comes next feels lighter, clearer, earned. If you're ready to receive this shift, type I accept in the comments. Because this message is the doorway into a much bigger story that's beginning now. Capricorn, let me speak to you like I would to someone sitting right across from me, not rushing, not explaining, just telling the truth the way it arrives. Because what you've been in was never just a delay. It felt like standing in front of a door that kept unlocking halfway. You could see the light through the crack. You could almost step through. And then it stopped again. You told yourself, maybe one more time. Maybe I just need a little more patience. Maybe this is how it works. And the truth is, you showed up anyway. You went back to the same conversation, the same responsibility, the same unresolved weight, again and again. Not because you didn't know better, but because you're Capricorn. You don't quit when things get heavy. You don't disappear when it gets uncomfortable. You carry it, quietly. And sometimes you wondered, in those silent moments late at night, why it seemed to take longer for you than for everyone else. You watched others move ahead, change faster, celebrate sooner, and you stayed, not stuck, but held. What most people never see is that endurance has a cost. It weighs on the chest, it tightens the shoulders, it makes time feel thicker, and you felt that. You feel everything. You just don't always show it. But listen to me now. This wasn't punishment, it wasn't misalignment, and it certainly wasn't failure. This was refinement. Every pause removed something that couldn't follow you forward. Every delay stripped away a version of you that was carrying more than it should. And you stayed present through all of it. That's not weakness. That's mastery. There's a reason your sign is ruled by time. Because time doesn't rush what's meant to last. And you, Capricorn, were being shaped for something solid. Something real. Something that wouldn't collapse the moment pressure arrived. Right now, you may feel a strange quiet settling in. Not excitement yet. Not celebration yet. Just stillness. That moment where the body knows before the mind does. Where something inside you says, this feels different. And it is. Because the version of you who kept returning to the same problem is not the version that walks away from it. That weight you carried so long without acknowledgement is about to be set down. Not dramatically, not loudly, but cleanly. And as that space opens, something else moves in. Relief. Clarity. A sense of direction that doesn't need force. You don't have to push anymore. You're about to notice how the path starts meeting you halfway. And as you feel that shift, that subtle easing in your chest, stay with me. Because this is where the story begins to feel lighter. And here's the part that feels quiet on the outside but powerful underneath. Because very recently something inside you shifted. Not loudly. Not in a way others would notice. It was subtle. You woke up one morning and realized you weren't bracing yourself anymore. You weren't rehearsing worst-case scenarios. You weren't asking, what if this doesn't work again? There was no panic, no tightness in the stomach, just a steady sense of knowing. Almost like your body decided before your mind caught up. You didn't need reassurance this time. You didn't need to ask anyone if you were doing the right thing. You simply showed up with a calm that surprised even you. And that's how you know this moment is different. Because when Capricorn is unsure, the mind runs ahead of the heart. It calculates, it plans, it protects. But when Capricorn is ready, everything slows down. The breath deepens, the shoulders drop, the noise fades. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop saying, maybe I should wait a little longer. Maybe I should give it one more chance. That voice went quiet. In its place there's a sentence that feels complete. I am done carrying this. Not angry, not resentful. Just done. And there is strength in that kind of ending. Because you're not closing this door to escape. You're closing it because you've already learned everything it was meant to teach you. Think about that. How many times have you walked into situations half doubting yourself, just hoping to survive the outcome? This time you're walking in grounded, feet planted, spine straight, eyes open. You're not looking for permission anymore. And that energy changes everything. People respond differently to you now. Conversations don't drag the same way. Delays don't hold the same power over you. Because you're not asking, will this finally end? You already know it will. And there's a quiet confidence that comes from that knowing. It doesn't rush. It doesn't argue. It simply waits for the moment to seal itself shut. You may notice how certain worries no longer follow you home. How sleep comes easier. How your thoughts don't spiral the way they used to. That's not coincidence. That's alignment catching up to effort. And, for someone like you who has built so much through discipline and responsibility, that moment matters more than you realize. Because this isn't just about solving a problem. It's about reclaiming space. Space in your mind. Space in your body. Space in your future. And once that space opens, something else begins to step forward. Not forcefully. Not demanding attention. Just a quiet sense that you're finally standing where you were always meant to stand. Hold on to that feeling. Let it settle in your chest, because it carries you into what unfolds next. And this is where something settles inside you so quietly that you almost miss it. Because the win you are stepping into does not arrive with noise. It does not announce itself. It does not need witnesses. It shows up as relief in the body before the mind has words for it. You realize you are not preparing to return anymore. You are not keeping mental notes, just in case you have to explain yourself again. You are not rehearsing conversations that never seem to go anywhere. That habit is gone. And that is how you know this is not a temporary resolution. This is final. For the first time in a long while, you are not holding a door open behind you. You are not saying, let me just keep this option alive. You are allowing it to close completely. There is a strength in that moment that only someone like you understands. Because you never rush endings. You respect them. You see them through. And when you decide something is finished, it stays finished. This victory does not ask you to prove anything. It does not require explanation. It does not demand justification. It simply releases you. And that release feels physical. Your shoulders soften. Your jaw unclenches. Your breath finally drops all the way down. You begin to notice how much energy you were carrying without realizing it. The constant vigilance. The quiet tension. The way part of you was always braced for another delay. That weight dissolves now. Not dramatically. Not all at once. But steadily. Honestly, you step forward and nothing pulls you back. And that is rare. Because most wins come with strings, conditions, fine print. This one does not. This one lets you walk away without residue. No resentment. No unfinished business. No emotional debris following you into the future. Just clarity. And clarity is one of the most underrated gifts in a world that keeps people confused for far too long. You earned this. Not by pushing harder. Not by demanding answers. But by staying aligned with who you are, even when it would have been easier to give up or give in. That kind of integrity changes outcomes. You may notice that the world begins to respond to you differently now. Opportunities feel cleaner. People speak more directly. Decisions arrive faster, not because the world changed, but because you did. You stopped negotiating with what drains you. You stopped investing in what delays you. You stopped carrying what was never meant to go this far with you. And there is a quiet pride that comes with that. Not ego. Not arrogance. Just a deep inner acknowledgement that you honored yourself. Sit with that feeling for a moment. Let it land, because this is what real success feels like when it comes without chaos. Light, clear, solid, and as you stand in that space, with nothing pulling at your past, and nothing rushing your future, you may sense something else approaching. Not as a demand, not as pressure, but as an invitation to move forward with ease. Stay here with me. Because what unfolds from this place carries a very different energy. There is something else that begins to reveal itself now. It arrives quietly, almost respectfully. Because you have always had a complicated relationship with effort. You learned early on that nothing valuable came without it. So you gave it freely, often without witnesses. You carried responsibility long before anyone asked you to. You stayed late. You showed up early. You held things together while others moved on or moved away. And you did it without announcing it. There were moments when your days felt stacked on top of each other. One obligation leaning into the next. One task finishing only to be replaced by another. You told yourself, just get through this part. Then I can breathe. But that space kept moving further away. There were times you forgot what rest even felt like. Times when the body stayed upright, but the spirit felt stretched thin. And still you kept going. Not because you were chasing something shiny, but because you believe in doing things right. In honoring commitments. In finishing what you start. That matters. And it has been seen even when it felt invisible. What is coming now does not arrive as a surprise win. It does not feel like luck. It feels like recognition. Like the universe quietly placing something back into your hands and saying, this belongs to you. You may notice it first as a sense of balance returning, bills that no longer hover over your head, effort that finally reflects back, a number, a confirmation, a moment where you realize the pressure is easing. This is not about excess, it is about fairness. You are receiving what was earned through consistency, through reliability, through showing up even when no one was watching. And there is something deeply grounding about that kind of return. It restores trust, not just in the world but in yourself. You begin to feel your footing again. You are not scrambling, you are not compensating, you are steady. And that steadiness creates a new relationship with money, not as stress, not as survival, but as flow. Something that supports your life instead of controlling it. You may notice how your breath changes when you check your account. How decisions feel less urgent. How you are no longer calculating every possible outcome. That is not coincidence. That is relief settling into the nervous system. And with that relief comes space. Space to enjoy what you worked so hard to secure. Space to say yes without fear. Space to imagine beyond the next responsibility. For someone like you, that is powerful, because when Capricorn finally feels supported, the future opens in a different way. You begin to sense movement again. Not rushed. Not forced. Just natural. And as that rhythm returns, as life starts responding with a little more ease, you may feel a quiet urge to step away for a moment. To change the scenery. To let the weight drop just a little further. Stay with that feeling. Because it gently carries you towards something refreshing that wants to meet you right where you are. And once the pressure loosens, once the constant demand finally steps back, something unfamiliar begins to appear. Silence, not the empty kind, the healing kind. The kind that doesn't ask you to fix anything. The kind that doesn't expect a response. For the first time in a long while, no one needs something from you. No calls waiting. No emails pulling at your attention. No quiet obligation tapping on your shoulder, reminding you of what still needs to be done. You wake up, and the day does not rush you. Your body notices it before your mind does. The breath comes easier. The chest feels wider. There is space between one thought and the next, and in that space you realize how tired you were. Not just physically, but in a deeper way. The kind of tired that comes from holding everything together for too long without ever setting it down. You rarely give yourself permission to stop. Even rest often comes with conditions. I will rest after this is done. I will slow down once everything is handled. I will take care of myself later. Later kept moving. But now later has arrived. And it does not demand productivity. It invites restoration. You may notice how even simple things feel different. The way you drink your coffee, the way you sit in a chair without checking the time, the way your body begins to soften instead of staying alert. This is not laziness. This is recovery. This is your nervous system finally realizing it is safe to stand down. And for someone like you, that is not easy. You have been trained by life to stay ready, to stay responsible, to stay ahead of problems before they appear. So allowing yourself to rest may feel strange at first, almost uncomfortable. You might catch yourself thinking, I should be doing something. And then you pause, and you don't, and nothing falls apart. The world keeps moving. Things continue to work themselves out, and slowly something important returns to you. Your sense of self outside of obligation. You remember who you are when you are not carrying everyone else. What you enjoy when there is no deadline attached. What you feel when your worth is not measured by output. This is a rare moment for you. One that many people never allow themselves to have. And it matters more than you think. Because this pause is not pulling you off your path, it is realigning you with it. You are refueling, recalibrating, letting your inner compass reset without interference. And from this place clarity begins to form naturally, not as pressure, not as urgency, but as quiet insight. Ideas surface without forcing them. Desires become clearer without justification. You start to feel what you want to move toward instead of what you have to endure. That distinction changes everything. And as these few days pass, as rest settles into your bones, you may sense a gentle pull toward something lighter. Not responsibility, not duty, but movement that feels refreshing. A shift in scenery, a change in air, nothing dramatic, just enough to remind you that life can meet you with ease. Stay with that softness. Let it guide you. Because it quietly leads you toward an experience that carries relief in a very tangible way. And somewhere inside that softness, inside that quiet pause, you finally allowed yourself a thought begins to surface. Not urgent, not demanding, just a gentle pull. It feels like a window opening after a long time in the same room. Fresh air moves in. Light shifts across the floor. You notice it in the way your body leans forward slightly, as if something is calling you without words. This is not escape. This is movement with meaning. You don't need to go far for it to matter. It might be a short drive, a brief change of scenery, a place you stay just long enough to remember how it feels to be untethered. What matters is the sensation of leaving without carrying unfinished weight. No loose ends in your hands. No unresolved thoughts tugging at you. You are not running from anything. You are stepping away after a win. That difference changes everything. You move through this journey with your shoulders relaxed, your pace unforced, your mind present. There is no urgency telling you to hurry back. Time feels generous here. You might notice how your senses wake up. The sound of tires on the road, the quiet rhythm of your breath, the way the sky looks wider when you are not staring at a screen or solving a problem. These small details begin to stitch something back together inside you. Not excitement, not distraction, perspective. You remember that life is not meant to be lived only through responsibility, that you are allowed moments where nothing is expected of you except to be present. And in that presence, something subtle shifts. Your thoughts loosen. Ideas arrive gently. Possibilities feel less intimidating. You may catch yourself thinking, what if things don't have to be as hard as they used to be? And for once that question doesn't scare you, it feels reasonable. For some Capricorns, this brief departure carries a second meaning, a quiet alignment between where you are and where you are headed. You may not have words for it yet. You don't need them. There is simply a sense that doors are no longer locked, that something you have been waiting on has cleared the way. You are not forcing the future. You are meeting it halfway. And that is new. Because you are not arriving depleted. You are arriving restored. The version of you who returns from this moment is not weighed down. They move differently. They decide differently. They trust themselves more. This isn't about the destination. It's about the recalibration that happens along the way. The way distance, even a small one, allows you to see your life from a clearer angle. And when that happens, the next steps don't feel overwhelming. They feel intentional. You don't need to plan everything right now. You don't need to define what comes next. All you need is this sense of openness settling into your chest. This feeling that something has shifted permanently without needing effort. Let that feeling linger, because as you move back into your rhythm, carrying less and seeing more clearly, another presence begins to make itself known. Not as pressure, not as demand, but as connection. And it approaches you with the same quiet certainty. You are learning to trust in yourself. And in the midst of all this movement, this quiet return to yourself, there is someone who has not drifted away. You may not see them every day. You may not hear from them as often as you would like. But their presence has never truly left the room. This person lives inside responsibility the same way you do. Their days are full. Their time is divided. Their mind is often pulled in more than one direction. And yet, in the small spaces between their obligations, your name appears. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just there. They think of you when the day slows down. When the work is finished but the mind is still awake. When the noise fades and what matters quietly surfaces. They miss you. Not in a restless way. In a grounded way. The kind of missing that comes from respect. From recognition. From knowing that connection is not measured by proximity alone. You might sense it before you hear it. A feeling that someone is holding space for you, even when they cannot physically show up. This is not neglect. This is life happening around two capable people who understand what commitment costs. They want to see you. They want to be with you. And right now they are doing what they do best. They are finishing what must be finished. Because when they come to you, they want to arrive fully. Not distracted. Not torn in half. They want presence. And that matters. There may be moments when the distance feels heavier. When time stretches and the silence feels longer than it should. If that happens, pause. Notice what is not there. There is no doubt, no instability, no question of intention. Just timing. And timing is something you understand deeply. You have lived long enough to know that rushed connections rarely last. And steady ones always find their way back. This meeting, when it happens, will not feel forced. There will be warmth, ease, a natural closeness that does not need explanation. The kind that settles into the body instead of racing through the mind. You will feel it in the way conversation flows without effort. In the way silence feels comfortable instead of awkward. You will look at them and recognize something familiar, not from the past. From alignment, right person, right moment. And there is a subtle sweetness in that, because it comes after growth, after patience, after both of you have carried your own weight. This is not a rescue. This is companionship. Two people standing on solid ground, choosing to meet without needing to be saved. And that choice changes the texture of the connection. It feels mature, stable, real. As you hold this awareness, as you let it warm you quietly, you may notice a shift in your heart. A softness returning without vulnerability feeling dangerous. A reminder that even the most self-reliant souls are not meant to walk alone forever. And you do not have to reach for this. You do not have to chase it. It is already moving toward you with the same steady intention you bring to everything you value. Let that settle, because when you are supported in this way, when connection meets you without pressure, something else begins to bloom. Not urgency, not longing, but gratitude. And that gratitude has a way of inviting moments worth celebrating into your life. And there is a moment, quiet and unmistakable, when you realize you made it through. Not because someone told you. Not because a milestone appeared on a screen. But because something inside you finally relaxes. You look back not with bitterness but with perspective. You see how far you walked without shortcuts. How many times you could have stopped and chose not to. You stayed when it was heavy. You kept your integrity when it would have been easier to compromise it. And most importantly, you did not abandon yourself to get to the end. That matters more than any result. This is why when the moment to celebrate arrives, it does not feel loud. It feels earned. There is no rush in it, no need to prove anything. Just a quiet lift of the chest, a soft smile that lingers, a sense of arrival that does not ask for applause. You allow yourself to acknowledge the work, the unseen effort, the long nights, the decisions made in silence. You do not minimize them anymore. You let them count. This celebration is not about excess. It is about recognition. A recognition that begins inside you before it ever appears outside. You may notice how your standards remain intact, even as your heart softens. You are not losing your edge. You are gaining ease. And ease looks good on you. It allows you to stand taller without tension, to enjoy moments without scanning for what might go wrong. You realize you are no longer in survival mode. You are present. And presence changes how life responds to you. The past chapter no longer defines you. It informed you. It shaped you. But it does not get to follow you forward. You are closing it with respect instead of regret. That is a powerful ending. Because endings like that do not drain you. They free you. And from that freedom, clarity emerges. You begin to see what you want to build next without pressure, without fear. You trust yourself to choose wisely. Not because you are invincible, but because you are grounded. You know your limits now. You know your value. You know when to say yes and when to walk away. That wisdom is the real reward. As you hold a glass, literal or symbolic, you are not toasting luck. You are honoring resilience, consistency, self-respect. You are honoring the version of you who stayed steady when the outcome was uncertain. And that version of you is still here. Stronger, clearer, more at home in your own skin. This new chapter does not rush in. It opens gently, with room to breathe, with space to choose, with confidence that does not need to announce itself. You step into it, not carrying old weight but carrying awareness. And that awareness will guide you well. So take this moment. Let it be enough, because life is meeting you now, not with resistance, but with cooperation. And as you move forward lighter than before, you do so, knowing you did not just reach the finish line. You arrived intact.